Good morning YouTube, Flank Hollow here, and I'm gonna talk about leaves. Wait, that's not what the title says at all. I guess the scripts got mixed up. Frickin' Crino. Whatever, we're still doing it. In Fall Weather Friends, Rainbow Dash and Applejack get into a competition to prove who is the best. Then, when Rainbow shows a clear advantage to literally half of the challenges, they decide to have a no-wings race during the annual Running of the Leaves. This is an event to signify when all the crispy red and brown leaves are ready to fall. Then, wait a second. The script says that it doesn't just signify it, but the event itself causes the leaves to fall. During the running of the leaves, the ponies are supposed to race through forwards, and the vibrations from the running make the leaves fall from the trees. In other words, it doesn't happen on its own. Or maybe they just think that because the leaves obviously were going through the phases of lowering chlorophyll production, which is why they were red, orange, and yellow, which is caused by shorter days and longer nights, which in this context must mean that the Royal Sisters slightly change up the schedules during the different seasons. That took a breath to say. But then if the leaves were dying from that, gravity could simply take care of them, right? Why was an entire event needed to do this task? But in the episode it is said that without them doing it, the leaves would never fall. I mean, I guess, but the only explanation I would have for that is that the dying leaves have very selective tastes, and for some reason aren't affected by gravity, or the wind, or even shaking the tree itself. No, they only fall when a very distinct vibrations of running on the ground, not even touching the trees, makes... Sure, let's go with that. So either way, it is supposed to be the pony's job to make it happen. But doesn't nature work on its own without outside influence? Oh wait, I forgot the pilots. It said right at the beginning the Everfree was unusual. In Bridal Gossip, it explains that clouds move on their own, animals fend for themselves, and plants grow on their own. Ooh. Later, we see that weather is a scheduled occurrence and that they manually change the seasons. Winter wrap up, They even have spells that can influence a creature's actions. This information was all laid out in only the first season of the show, and ponies controlling the nature around them has been a recurring theme throughout the series. Okay, I see where this is going. I guess I did have the right script, because all of this leads to the real question at hand. How do ponies affect the nature around them? Well, I kind of just somewhat covered that. In their society, they basically control everything, all the way from how the seasons change to when the sun sets and rises. Sometimes the things are done with magic, or they can be more traditional, like the people at Ponyville who do it by hoof. And apparently it can also be done with science, because potions that advance growth in plants exist in this world. Heck, apparently a filly can make one, even if it's minor. Even though it only showed up once, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that potions like that are widely used in the more technologically inclined locations. We've seen contraptions that enhance production before, so it's not that far-fetched. The only reason we the audience never see it is because we focus more on Ponyville, where the residents, as I mentioned before, tend to do things more traditionally. This makes me wonder though, if as technology grows, it seems that they develop better ways of controlling nature, and even though Ponyville is less modern, it still controls nature, was it always that way? Did Pony Society always have a controlling grasp? Well, when Ponyville was founded, we learned that it was formed specifically because of nature. The Zap apples that Granny found were planted and then they grew there. The important thing to remember though is that they grew on their own schedule, and by their own rules. The ponies could only work around it, not really control it. The only thing that they did control was where it was planted. But earlier than that, from what we saw in Hearthswarming Eve, is that the unicorns did at least control the sun and moon, and the Pegasi the weather. And you know, until Wendigos did stuff. But that begs the question of whether or not Wendigos are considered natural. They're spirits that feed off hatred and cause coldness, but it never says if they are sentient or simply running on instinct like simple animals. And if they were natural, they were technically summoned because of the ponies being hateful to one another. And they were dispelled by the fire of friendship from the ponies. So ponies were affecting nature, but they weren't actively controlling it besides, you know, the aforementioned jobs by each race. So ponies have been having a pretty significant effect on basically everything for a pretty long while. Really at this point, we should be asking the question, not how or what they affect, but what don't they affect? Well, I kinda answered that too. What is the one place where clouds move on their own, and where animals... It's the Everfree Forest. You knew that already. The Everfree Forest works on its own without any pony intervention. It was even worn by Princess Celestia to Granny Smith's family back in the day. And by the way, guess where the Zap apples originally came from? That's right, the Everfree Forest. This means that its plants still won't be controlled even if taken out of its homeland. The thing about the Everfree Forest is, it's dangerous. A ton of violent creatures and plants and landscapes just make this place a crazy, terrifying place. It's just simply a bad vacation spot. Unless you're a badass zebra who builds a hut there. But the point I'm trying to make is that the only truly natural place in Equestria is a dangerous, fend-for-yourself, strongest survives sort of place. It must be evil, right? That's supposed to be it. But really, can you blame nature for being unforgiving? Are the ponies correct in branding nature as bad when they simply can't control it? And are they correct in controlling it in the first place? Continuing on with this type of thinking, are ponies even really controlling it? Or are they just another part of Equestria's natural order? It would really depend on how it started. Were the ponies always there? Or were other things before them? Since going down that lane would probably open a totally different can of worms that I simply don't care for, I think I conclude with this. The pony population has been making the world work their own way for a long time, and I don't see a hint of change in that regard. In fact, I'm not even quite sure that the Everfree Forest is supposed to be dangerous after that whole Harmony Tree incident. When the elements were returned to it, did it, quote, purify it? If that's the case, then the true order is with ponies doing everything. That would mean that Applejack was right when she said at the beginning that the Everfree Forest was unnatural. Really, it depends on how they depict it in the future seasons. I'll make my judgment when that happens, and you can make yours. And while I'm on the subject...
Oh my god, why am I analyzing this show?
Yeah, okay, I guess I'm done with this video. Tell me what you think of this topic or the video itself in the comments below. Like and subscribe and share if you enjoyed and want to see more. I am Flank Hollow, and remember, I put the anal into analysis.
This alpha predator of yours, Doctor. Do you really think he has a chance?
The arrogance of man is thinking nature is in our control, and not the other way around. Let them fight.